You know, we all trust the buildings we walk into, the bridges we drive over every single day. But that trust, it isn't just built on concrete and steel. It's built on lessons learned from disasters, and, maybe even more importantly, it's built on the lessons from disasters that almost happened. I mean, think about that for a second. It's a wild question, right? We always hear about the buildings that collapse. But what about the ones that were just one bad decision, one shortcut, one strong gust of wind away from complete catastrophe? Those are the invisible stories we're going to uncover today.
All right, so to really get our heads around this invisible world, we first have to understand the main event, the near miss. What exactly is it?
Okay, so a near miss isn't just a minor oops or a small mistake. No. It's basically a full-blown dress rehearsal for a disaster. It's that heart-stopping moment when someone, somewhere, realizes a critical flaw just in the nick of time. And those moments, they are absolutely priceless learning opportunities.
Because by studying these close calls, engineers can spot really dangerous trends and fix problems in the whole system before they lead to an actual collapse. So remember, these aren't just spooky stories. They are literally the foundation that modern structural safety is built on.
So, let's open up our first case file. Because sometimes these near misses aren't about honest mistakes at all. Sometimes they're caused by deliberate and, frankly, pretty terrifying deception. Get ready for this one. This story comes from a report about a steel-framed building. Now, on the surface, everything looked totally fine, but hiding underneath was a secret so shocking it put the entire structure and everyone in it at risk. I mean, the sheer audacity of this is just wow. So first, they poured the foundation in the wrong spot. Big mistake. But instead of fixing it, the crew just burned off the huge anchor bolts. Then, they put up the entire steel frame with nothing holding it down. And to top it all off, they glued fake bolt heads into the holes to make it look like it was secure. The building was literally just sitting on its foundation, completely unattached.
And the report doesn't mince words. It's actually pretty chilling. It says that if just one person hadn't spotted this, a strong wind could have created an absolute catastrophe. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a near miss, caused by a dangerous, deliberate cover-up.
All right, let's move on, because not all near misses come from some kind of malicious plan. A lot of the time, the danger is hiding in the gaps. You know, the spaces between different teams who just aren't talking to each other properly.
This next case is a classic. It's about a multi-story building where the left hand truly had no clue what the right hand was doing. See, the main designer had a very specific plan for keeping the building stable, but the team actually building it on the ground, they had a completely different idea of how things should go. Okay, just look at this disconnect. The designer's plan was simple. You build a big concrete core in the middle, think of it like a spine, and that gives the whole steel skeleton its stability. But on site, they built the entire steel frame first, without the spine. So you've got this naked, unbraced structure just sitting there, totally vulnerable to the wind, while they're piling on even more weight. Nobody was in charge of keeping it from falling over. And no, that is not an exaggeration. The engineer who found this said the only reason the building was still standing was because it happened to be a period of light winds. Pure luck. A strong gust of wind could have brought the whole thing down like a house of cards. A disaster avoided by nothing more than good weather. And this kind of thing, it happens way more than you'd think. In another case, a contractor just quietly swapped out a super important connecting part for a cheaper, incompatible one. Nobody knew a thing until the concrete itself actually started to crack under the pressure. It's just another perfect example of how one conversation that doesn't happen can put an entire building at risk.
So, we've seen deception and we've seen these massive communication breakdowns. But you have to wonder, how do you stop this stuff from happening over and over and over again? Well, you need a system that can see the big picture.
And this is really the key. Those phantom bolts in one city and that unstable frame in another, they might seem totally unrelated, but when you put them together, they can start to show you industry-wide problems with quality control, or training, or communication. And to see those patterns, you need data. Lots of it.
And that is exactly where a system called CROSS comes in. It stands for Confidential Reporting on Structural Safety. Think of it like a safe harbor. It allows engineers, construction workers, anyone in the industry, really, to report these terrifying near misses without fear of getting blamed or getting sued.
The whole process is actually pretty brilliant. An engineer submits a report,
and it gets completely scrubbed of any names or locations. It's totally anonymous. Then, experts dive into all these reports, looking for patterns. Maybe a certain material keeps failing, or a common mistake keeps popping up in the design phase. Then, those lessons are shared with the entire industry, creating this kind of collective memory that helps stop the next disaster before it can ever happen.
So, you might be wondering, is a system like this really that necessary? Well, get a load of this. In just its first 6 months, the Scottish branch of this organization got over 250 reports of objects falling off of buildings. Just think about that. That's more than one near miss reported every single day for just one type of incident in just one small country. It just perfectly shows you the massive scale of these hidden risks that are all around us.
So what's the big takeaway here? How do all these invisible stories, these close calls, help build a real, tangible, safer world for all of us?
Here's the bottom line. The safety of the building you're sitting in right now, it's not guaranteed by luck. It is an active, ongoing process. It's built on the courage of people who are willing to speak up about what they see, and on a system that's designed to listen, to learn, and to share those lessons far and wide.
There's this one piece of advice from a report that just really sticks with you. It came from a demolition where a column suddenly collapsed because, decades earlier, its joints hadn't been finished correctly. The lesson? It's so simple. You can't just assume things were built right in the first place. You have to be skeptical. You have to check. Basically, assume the worst to ensure the best outcome.
So as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this thought to chew on. The next time you walk into a skyscraper or drive across a huge bridge, just take a second. Think about that invisible web of checks and balances and all the lessons learned from disasters that thankfully never happened. What unseen bit of knowledge learned from a close call halfway across the world is keeping you safe at this very moment? Thanks for joining The Explainer.